In lesson 9.6, we learned how to factor trinomials in the form ax squared plus bx plus c. The difference from lesson 9.5 is that now we have a number in front of the x squared, a leading coefficient. The process is the same. We start out by setting up two factors. Our variable is x. We're going to have an x in each one. In this problem, we need to multiply to equal positive 6, add to equal negative 13. The only way we're going to do that is if we have two negatives in our factors. Now, we have to consider also in this problem the numbers that multiply together to equal 2x squared. It's not just going to be x and x. So our factors of 2 would be 2 and 1. So in this first spot, we have to put either a 2 or a 1. Now, since these signs are both negative, it's not going to make a difference which one is 2 and which one is 1. So I'm going to start out by putting them in there. For this last number, we consider the factors of 6. We could use 1 and 6 or 2 and 3. 1 and 6, 2 and 3. The only way to really figure this out, unless you do some planning ahead in your head, is to do some trial and error. So if we start by just picking a number, let's try 2 and 3. If we put in 2 and 3 and we do the FOIL method, you really only have to check the inner and the outer to see if this one works. So if we test the inner and the inner would be negative 2x, the outer would be negative 6x, which equals negative 8x. That does not match our middle term of negative 13x. So we know that negative 2 and negative 3 are not our options, are not our answers. Let's try flipping those around. 3 and 2. Now our inner terms, we'd have negative 3x. Our outer is negative 4x, and that equals negative 7x. Still not the negative 13x we're looking for. So we know that 2 and 3 are not going to be in our factors. Our other option then is 1 and 6. Let's just plug in 1 and 6 and see if this one works. Our inner terms, negative 1 times 1x is negative 1x. Our outer terms would be negative 12x. Negative 1 minus 12 is negative 13. That is the one we are looking for, so we can stop. These right here are the factors of this problem. You can always do the FOIL method to prove that they are equivalent to the polynomial we started with. When the leading coefficient is negative, the first step changes. The first step now is to factor out a negative. So when I do that, the signs change on each of the other terms in the polynomial. The only thing we do with this negative is you carry it along down to your answer. We don't have to consider it in any of our factoring. What we're factoring is what is inside the parentheses. 4x squared minus 12x minus 7. So we know we have the variable x. They have to multiply to equal negative 7. So that tells us one is positive, one is negative. For the leading coefficient, it has to multiply to equal 4x squared. So our options are 1 and 4, or 2 and 2. Our options for this second part has to multiply to equal 7. So our options are only 1 and 7. Now again, you could do trial and error until you find the one that works. In this case, 2x plus 1 and 2x minus 7 end up being the factors that work out. Don't forget to include the negative that you carried down from factoring it out in the first step.